Gene stared at his computer screen, eyes wide with disbelief. The pattern in the radio signals couldn't be random noise. He had been analyzing deep space communications for 5 years at the Korea Aerospace Research Institute, but this was different. This was structured. "Hannah, come look at this," he called to his colleague across the lab. Hannah pushed her chair back and walked over, coffee mug in hand. "What did you find?" "I'm not sure yet. But these signals from the direction of Tau Ceti, they repeat in a way that suggests intelligence." Hannah leaned closer, her eyes scanning the data. "That's not in our normal search parameters." "How did you find it?" "I created a new algorithm last week. It looks for patterns we might have missed with standard methods." Gene ran his hand through his dark hair, a habit when he was excited. "The signal is embedded within what looks like cosmic background radiation. If you weren't specifically looking for it, you'd never notice." For 3 days, Gene and Hannah worked almost nonstop, breaking only for short naps on the office couch. They pulled in their friend Tay, a linguistics expert, to help decode what they now firmly believed was an alien transmission. "It's using mathematics as a foundation," Tay explained, pointing to his notes. "But there's more to it. I think they're establishing a communication protocol." On the 4th day, their efforts paid off. The first decoded message appeared on their screen. "Stellar Concordat Internal Communication, Earth Monitoring Status." "Stellar Concordat?" Hannah whispered. "They've been watching us?" More messages followed as the decryption program did its work. The 3 researchers read in stunned silence as the truth became clear. Earth was under observation by an alliance of advanced civilizations. The communications revealed discussions about humanity's development and potential threats. One message in particular made Jin's blood run cold. "Assessment: Human AI development progressing faster than projected. Recommendation: implement Protocol 7B to limit advancement." "They're planning to hold us back," Jin said. "They don't want us to develop further." Hannah pointed to another decoded section. "Look here. They've already placed operatives on Earth." The message listed several key positions infiltrated by Concordat agents. Among them was Do Hyun Song, CEO of Quantum Nexus, one of the world's leading AI research companies. "That's impossible," Tae said. "Do Hyun Song is Korean. He grew up here. He went to Seoul National University." "Or that's what we've been led to believe," Jean replied. That night, Jean couldn't sleep. If the Concordat could place agents on Earth who appeared completely human, what else could they do? The messages suggested they possessed technology centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. The next morning, Jean made a decision. "We need to confront Do Hyun directly." "That's crazy," Hannah said. "If he is an alien operative, he could be dangerous." "We'll do it publicly, at the AI Summit next week. He's giving the keynote speech. We'll bring the evidence and a small recording device." Tae shook his head. "The government should handle this. And if they're infiltrated too? We need irrefutable proof first." The week passed quickly as they prepared. They gathered the decoded messages, analyzed Do Hyun's public history looking for inconsistencies, and created a secure backup of all their findings. On the day of the summit, Jean felt sweat gathering on his palms as he approached Do Hyun after his speech. Hannah stood nearby, recording device hidden in her jacket. "Mr. Song, could I speak with you privately about your quantum computing breakthrough?" Jean asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Do Hyun smiled. "Of course. I always have time for young researchers." In a quiet corner of the venue, Jean took a deep breath and showed Do Hyun his phone screen displaying the decoded Concordat messages. Do Hyun's face showed no reaction for 3 seconds. Then his smile vanished. "How did you find this?" he asked quietly. "You don't deny it then?" Jean felt his heart pounding. Humans weren't supposed to detect these communications for at least another century, Do Hyun said, his voice taking on a slightly different cadence. "This is unexpected." Jean met his eyes. "We know about Protocol 7B. We know the Concordat plans to limit humanity's progress. Doohyun studied Jean with an expression that was suddenly very alien despite his human appearance. Fascinating, he said finally. Perhaps we have underestimated your species after all. Jean and Hannah knew they were taking a huge risk, but the recording was perfect. Doohyun had admitted everything while they captured it all on Hannah's hidden device. The stellar concordat has studied your species for centuries, Doohyun had explained, his voice now carrying a strange rhythm unlike any human accent. Your technological progress follows a predictable curve, except for artificial intelligence. Your approach to AI is worryingly creative. The three researchers now sat in Jin's small apartment, replaying the recording for the fifth time. Tae paced nervously by the window. He didn't even try to kill us, Tae said. That's what bothers me. He just talked. Because he doesn't see us as a threat, Hannah replied. Even with this recording, who would believe us? Jean nodded slowly. We need more proof. And we need to understand exactly what Protocol 7b is. They spent the next 3 days digging deeper into Quantum Nexus and Doohyun's activities. Jean discovered that key AI research projects at the company always hit mysterious roadblocks just before major breakthroughs. Promising researchers were reassigned or left the field entirely. It's subtle, Jean explained. He's not stopping progress completely. He's just making sure it moves in the direction the Concordat wants. Hannah found something even more alarming. Look at these investment patterns. Quantum Nexus has blocked funding for at least 20 startups working on general AI. But they heavily fund narrow AI applications that can't lead to true machine intelligence. On Friday evening, as they worked late in the lab, the door opened unexpectedly. Doohyun walked in alone. I thought I might find you here, he said calmly. Tae jumped up, knocking over his chair. Jean moved protectively toward the computer where their research was displayed. Doohyun held up his hands. I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to explain. Why should we trust you? Hannah asked. Because I've been on Earth for 63 years, and I've grown fond of humans. Doohyun sat down uninvited. The Concordat fears species with your combination of intelligence and aggression. Your history is filled with violence. So are most species' histories, I imagine, Jean said. Doohyun smiled slightly. Actually, no. Most achieve stability before developing advanced technology. Humans are unusual. And that's why you're holding us back? Hannah asked. The Concordat believes humanity needs more time to mature before joining the galactic community. Doohyun's eyes moved to the computer screen. But your discovery of our communications was unexpected. No species has ever detected Concordat observation before developing faster than light travel. Jean felt a strange mix of pride and fear. How many of you are there on Earth? 23 operatives in key positions. I am the only one in Korea. And Protocol 7b? Tae asked. Doohyun hesitated. A controlled technological plateau. We ensure human advancement continues but prevent technologies that could threaten other worlds. Jin's phone buzzed. He looked down at a text message from an unknown number, building compromised. Leave now. He showed it to Hannah and Tae. We need to go. Doohyun frowned. What is it? Nothing, Jean said, quickly gathering their hard drives. We'll continue this discussion later. They hurried from the building, taking Jin's car. As they drove away, 3 black SUVs pulled up to the lab entrance. Who were they? Tae asked, looking back nervously. I don't know, Jean replied. But that text came right after Doohyun mentioned other operatives. Hannah was checking her phone. The recording from today automatically uploaded to our secure server. Doohyun admitted everything again. They drove to Hannah's sister's empty vacation house in the countryside. That night, they reviewed all the evidence they had gathered. The picture was becoming clearer and more frightening. Doohyun isn't just limiting AI research, Jean said. Look at the pattern. The Concordat is subtly controlling human development across multiple fields. But why did Do-hyun reveal so much to us? Tae wondered. I think he wanted us to know, Hannah said. He seemed almost regretful. Jean nodded slowly. If we take this public, with the recordings as proof, people will have to listen. Or they'll think we're crazy, Tae said. We need to go bigger than just Korea, Jean decided. This affects the whole world. We need to take this to the United Nations. Hannah looked up from her computer. We might not have much time. Look at this. She showed them a news alert on her screen. Quantum Nexus CEO announces breakthrough in AI containment protocol. Containment, Jean repeated. He's accelerating his plan. They looked at each other, three ordinary researchers now holding the truth about humanity's future in their hands. The question wasn't just whether the world would believe them, but whether they could act quickly enough to make a difference. The United Nations Security Council chamber had never been so tense. 3 months had passed since Jean, Hannah, and Tae had released their evidence to the world. At first, they were dismissed as conspiracy theorists or hoaxers. Then Do-hyun disappeared, and the recordings were verified as authentic by multiple independent labs. Now Jean sat at a long table with Hannah on one side and June, Korea's top diplomat, on the other. Across from them, separated by a clear barrier that scientists claimed was necessary for biological containment, sat 5 representatives of the stellar concordat. For looked mostly human but with subtle differences: skin too smooth, eyes too still, movements too precise. The 5th was clearly non-human, tall and thin with gray-blue skin and eyes that blinked sideways. The Secretary General of the UN stood to address the chamber. This hearing will determine humanity's relationship with the stellar concordat going forward. We will hear testimony about their covert infiltration of Earth and their Program 7B, which has allegedly limited human technological advancement. Cameras broadcast the proceedings to billions of viewers worldwide. This was the most watched event in human history. The Concordat's lead representative, who called himself Arbiter, spoke first. His voice had an odd musical quality. The stellar concordat oversees the development of promising species throughout this galactic sector. Our protocols exist to prevent unstable civilizations from developing technologies that could harm themselves or others. And you decided humans were unstable? June asked. Your history suggests this, yes. Your species fights constant wars. You developed nuclear weapons before achieving global cooperation. Your AI research proceeds without adequate safety measures. Jean leaned forward. Yet you never gave us a chance to prove ourselves. You simply decided to limit our potential. Arbiter tilted his head. We have extensive experience with developing species. Our models predicted an 83% chance that unrestricted human advancement would lead to catastrophic outcomes. Hannah spoke up. Models based on your understanding of your own species, not ours. The hearing continued for hours. The Concordat representatives explained their history of guiding hundreds of worlds toward what they called stable advancement. They showed holographic displays of civilizations that had destroyed themselves through war, environmental collapse, or runaway technology. During a brief recess, Jean whispered to June, "They're trying to frighten us into accepting their control." June nodded. And many humans watching might agree with them. We need to change the narrative. When the hearing resumed, June stood to address the chamber. The Concordat claims to protect developing species from themselves. Yet they did not come to us honestly. They infiltrated our governments and corporations. They made decisions for all of humanity without our knowledge or consent. Arbiter remained calm. Direct contact with pre-concordant species has historically led to cultural disruption and technological dependence. So instead you manipulated us from the shadows? Jean asked. How many human innovations have you suppressed? How many diseases might we have cured if not for your interference? The non-human Concordat member spoke for the first time, its voice surprisingly gentle. Protocol 7B does not prevent medical advancement. It only restricts technologies with potential for weaponization or uncontrolled replication. Hannah pulled up data on her tablet. Yet your operative Do-hyun blocked research into molecular manufacturing that could have provided clean water to billions. Was that too dangerous? A murmur ran through the human delegates. Arbiter's composure finally showed cracks. The transition period is always difficult. In time, humanity would have been formally contacted and offered membership in the Concordat. After how long? Jean asked. Decades? Centuries? When you were ready, Arbiter said firmly. The council chairman, visibly frustrated with the circular arguments, asked, "What do you propose happens now? Your infiltration has been exposed. Your agent Do-hyun has vanished. Protocol 7B can no longer function in secret." Arbiter conferred briefly with the other Concordat representatives before answering. "We propose open supervision. Concordat advisors would work directly with human governments to guide technological development along safe paths. We would share limited technologies to address immediate human needs. So instead of secret control, you offer open control," June said. "That is not acceptable. The alternative would be to classify humanity as an uncooperative species," Arbiter replied. "This would have consequences." Jean felt a chill at the implied threat. But he also saw an opportunity. "The fact that we discovered your infiltration proves your models are flawed," Jean said. "No species has ever detected Concordat observation before developing faster than light travel. Isn't that what Do-hyun told us?" For the first time, Arbiter looked unsettled. "That is correct. So your 83% prediction of catastrophe might be equally flawed," Jean pressed. "Perhaps humans are more capable than your models suggest." As the chamber erupted in discussion, Jean exchanged glances with Hannah and June. They had scored an important point. The Concordat's claim of superior understanding was not as solid as it first appeared. The hearing would continue tomorrow, and Earth's representatives now had a strategy: prove that humanity deserved to determine its own destiny. The second day of the hearing began with a surprise. Jean, Hannah, and June arrived with dozens of storage devices containing research they had gathered from scientists worldwide in the weeks since the Concordat's existence became public. "Before we continue," Jean announced, "we would like to present evidence of humanity's readiness for advanced technology." The Concordat representatives looked at each other with what seemed like confusion and emotion they rarely displayed. "Proceed," said the council chairman. Jean nodded to Hannah, who activated a holographic display. "These are safety protocols developed independently by human AI researchers over the past decade. They include ethical guidelines, containment procedures, and shutdown mechanisms." Arbiter leaned forward. "These are remarkably similar to Concordat standards. We developed them without your guidance," Hannah said. "Humans naturally recognized the risks of advanced AI and took steps to mitigate them." Jean continued, "We also discovered something interesting about Do-hyun's company, Quantum Nexus. While blocking certain research paths, he was collecting data on human innovation methods. The Concordat wasn't just limiting us, they were studying us." The non-human Concordat member shifted uncomfortably. "All observation includes data collection." June stood up next. His normally calm diplomatic demeanor had transformed into something more passionate. "The core issue isn't whether humans might someday misuse technology. The issue is our right to determine our own future." He walked closer to the barrier separating the delegations. "You claim to protect developing species, but protection without consent is control. Many species have benefited from our guidance," Arbiter countered. "Some would have destroyed themselves without intervention." "Perhaps," June acknowledged. "But did you offer them a choice?" Tae, who had been quietly analyzing Concordat legal documents provided the previous day, spoke up. "According to your own charter, interference is only justified when a species poses an active threat to others. Earth has never threatened any world beyond our own." The chamber fell silent as the Concordat representatives conferred among themselves. Arbiter finally responded, "Your interpretation of our charter is interesting. However, threat assessment includes potential future actions." Jean sensed an opening. "Then let us demonstrate our potential for good, not harm." He signaled to a group of scientists waiting at the back of the chamber. They brought forward working prototypes of technologies that had been developed despite the Concordat's interference: medical nanites programmed to target cancer cells, atmospheric scrubbers that could reduce carbon dioxide levels, and quantum communication devices. These innovations were created by teams that worked outside major institutions, beyond the reach of your operatives, Jean explained. They all prioritize safety and ethical use. Impressive, the non-human member admitted. But isolated achievements do not guarantee responsible use of more advanced technologies. Hannah stepped forward. We found something else in the Concordat communications we intercepted. She displayed a message that had been deeply encrypted. Your own analysts noted that human creativity follows unconventional patterns that your models struggle to predict. Arbiter's face showed the first real sign of alarm. That assessment was preliminary. But accurate, Jean pressed. Your models failed to predict that we would discover your presence. They failed to predict our independent development of safety protocols. What else have they missed about human potential? The council chairman sensed the shifting momentum. Does the Concordat wish to respond to this line of argument? After a tense consultation, Arbiter addressed the chamber. The Concordat acknowledges that certain aspects of human development have exceeded our projections. However, this does not negate the risks of unrestricted advancement. June sought his opportunity for a final appeal. Throughout human history, we have faced existential threats from nature, from ourselves. Each time, enough of us chose cooperation over conflict, creation over destruction. We have stumbled, made terrible mistakes, but we have learned from them. He gestured to the chamber filled with representatives from nations that had once been bitter enemies. Look at this council. Former adversaries now working together. We don't claim to be perfect, but we deserve the chance to chart our own course among the stars. The non-human Concordat member leaned over to whisper something to Arbiter. The tension in the room grew as the Concordat delegation engaged in what appeared to be a heated debate among themselves. Finally, Arbiter turned back to address the human delegation. The stellar Concordat will need to reassess its position regarding Earth. We request an adjournment until tomorrow for consultation with our full governing body. As the session ended, Jean, Hannah, and June huddled together. They're reconsidering, Hannah said, her voice filled with cautious hope. Jean nodded. But what will their final decision be? June looked toward the departing Concordat representatives. For the first time, I think they're uncertain. And for beings who rely on predictive models, uncertainty is unsettling. The world would have to wait one more day to learn its fate. The United Nations Security Council chamber was filled beyond capacity on the final day of the hearing. World leaders who had initially sent representatives now attended in person. The gravity of the moment, humanity's first negotiation with an alien power, had finally sunk in across the globe. Jean barely slept the night before. He sat between Hannah and Tay, watching the Concordat delegation enter. They moved differently today, less certain, more cautious. Arbiter took his position and activated a small device that projected a shimmering field around the Concordat representatives. For transparency, he explained, this field allows you to see our true forms. The humans gasped as the appearances of the Concordat members shifted slightly. Their features became more defined, more alien, though still recognizably humanoid. The non-human member's transformation was less dramatic, suggesting it had appeared more honestly from the beginning. The council chairman called the session to order. We will now hear the Concordat's response to humanity's defense. Arbiter stood. The stellar Concordat has existed for 12,000 of your years. In that time, we have guided hundreds of species through technological adolescence. Some have joined us. Others chose isolation. A few rejected our guidance and later destroyed themselves. He paused, looking directly at Jean. Humans were classified as high potential but high risk. Your creativity and adaptability make you uniquely capable of both great creation and great destruction. And your verdict? June asked, his voice steady despite the tension. The Concordat acknowledges that our assessment of humanity was incomplete. Arbiter seemed to struggle with this admission. Your detection of our presence and your independent development of certain ethical frameworks suggests higher readiness than our models predicted. Murmurs spread through the human delegations. Therefore, Arbiter continued, we propose a modified relationship. Protocol 7B will be discontinued. Instead, we offer Earth probationary membership in the Stellar Concordat. The chamber erupted in excited conversation. June raised his hand for silence. What does probationary membership entail? He asked. The non-human member stepped forward. Knowledge exchange under supervision. Limited access to Concordat technology. Observation without interference. After 50 years, full membership would be considered. And if we decline? Jean asked. Arbiter's expression hardened slightly. Then Earth would be classified as a sovereign non-aligned world. You would develop without our guidance or protection. Protection from what? Hannah asked. There are other forces in this galaxy besides the Concordat, Arbiter said simply. Not all are benevolent. The human delegations requested time to confer. For 2 hours, representatives from Earth's nations debated the offer. Jean, Hannah, and Tay were invited to join as special advisors, given their unique experience with the Concordat. They're still trying to control us, Jean argued during the private session. Just more openly now. But access to their knowledge could advance medicine, clean energy, space travel, countered a European delegate. At what cost? Hannah asked. 50 years of supervision? Who decides what technologies we're ready for? June, who had been listening carefully to all sides, finally spoke. I believe we should propose our own terms. When the session reconvened, June addressed the Concordat. Earth thanks you for your offer. We propose an alternative, equal diplomatic relations. Knowledge exchange based on mutual benefit, not supervision. Earth retains full sovereignty over its development path. Arbiter looked genuinely surprised. You reject our guidance? We welcome your partnership, June clarified. But not your oversight. The Concordat members conferred for several minutes. Finally, Arbiter spoke again. Your proposal is unprecedented. No pre-FTL species has ever requested equal standing. Yet here we are, Jean said. Having this conversation that your models said wouldn't happen for centuries. The non-human member made a sound that might have been laughter. The human makes a valid point, Arbiter. After more discussion among themselves, Arbiter announced, the Concordat will accept modified terms. Earth will be classified as a sovereign allied world, a new designation in our protocols. We will establish an embassy on Earth and permit an Earth embassy at Concordat headquarters. Technology exchange will proceed cautiously, by mutual agreement. The council chairman looked to Earth's representatives. Do we accept these terms? One by one, the world leaders nodded their assent. June formally accepted on behalf of Earth. As the historic agreement was recorded, Jean felt a strange mix of triumph and unease. He leaned toward Hannah. We won, right? He whispered. Hannah smiled. We earned the right to determine our own future. That's what matters. Later, as they watched the Concordat representatives board their previously hidden ship for departure, Tay voiced what they were all thinking. Everything changes now. In 1 week, we went from thinking we were alone in the universe to negotiating with an interstellar civilization. Jean nodded, watching the ship rise silently into the evening sky. And we proved something important, not just to them, but to ourselves. What's that? Hannah asked. That humanity's unpredictability might be our greatest strength. Jean turned to look at his friends. They couldn't predict what we would do because we're still writing our own story. Above them, the first star appeared in the twilight sky, no longer just a distant light, but a destination within reach.